Hello and welcome back to another Walking Dead video, and today I'll be reviewing The Walking Dead Dead City Season 1 Episode 1. And I would have to say it's great to have Maggie and Negan back on our screens again. However, there are a few issues with this. First of all, this episode immediately kind of reboots both the characters. Both the characters are not in their nice happy conclusion and the end of their arc at the end of The Walking Dead Season 11. So straight up, that's my biggest issue with this episode, is it feels like they are rebooting the characters so they can retell the story that Season 11 told pretty well. So hopefully this whole show will not be about retelling that story. Hopefully this season will just get it over and done with. They've retold the same story twice, and then in the later seasons they can move on. Hopefully they can finally move on. But this episode focuses on Maggie and Negan getting together and heading to Manhattan. And this episode sets up a lot of questions like what happened to Negan's family, what happened here, what happened there, and it's set up who the villain is. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't care about any of these things. Like, this episode is meant to be set up, but I do not care. None of these things really grip me, and for a premiere that is pretty bad. This episode does really suck as a premiere. It just feels like a normal Walking Dead episode, and saying this is meant to be the first episode of a brand new show, where's that thing? Like, Manhattan's meant to be a thing, but you don't really get to Manhattan until over halfway through the episode. And you could have really cut out a bit of just Maggie and Negan talking, all this random, like, fluff at the start, and get to the actual point of the episode, which is our characters are in a big city. The city is great. It looks amazing. It's just that I feel like it takes too long to get to Manhattan. And then once in Manhattan, a few things happen, and then it ends very suddenly. This episode just had a sudden ending. And I was looking at like, is the episode just that it? And then I saw the trailer for the next episode. I was like, oh, that's the end of the episode. I really didn't like the pacing of this episode. It is too slow at the start. Once you get to Manhattan, it gets interesting. The episode then suddenly ends with the villain, and then you're like, okay, I didn't like that. The writing's a bit meh this episode. However, it is not fear levels where it really annoys me, and the more you think about it, the worse it is. The writing is okay. There's no plot holes or bad moments. It is just a bit bland and feels like a generic episode. The only really bright spots of this episode is Negan. Like, he's allowed to swear now because AMC and now let people say the F word, so the dialogue is a bit better. It's not like the early seasons of The Walking Dead where it's clunky, where characters are trying to work their way around trying not to say the F word. So it's quite good to have Negan be a bit of a dick. I quite liked that. But Maggie, I didn't really care about. I just saw her as like, oh, okay, Maggie's got a plot. Maggie is just the catalyst to get Negan into Dead City so the story can evolve around Negan. This episode, really, they're trying to push it to be it's all happened because of Maggie. But no, I just don't really care about Maggie's thing. I don't care about Hershel. The only reason I'm here in this show and watching it is just for Negan. And he does deliver. He's definitely the best thing about this episode. There is one thing that annoys me though, and that is the walker that we saw in the trailer that was vaulting. Turns out in that it's just a cut up human. That really annoyed me, and AMC purposely put it in the trailer to make people think it was a walker. So that disappointed me. Some other things are that I felt the world didn't feel like The Walking Dead. It felt way too civilized. We've spent over a decade watching Walking Dead content, and every other show shows that the world is kind of barrenless. It's just empty. You have a few set of communities of walls up, and that's it. Then you go Dead City and you hear about this like New Babylon. You hear there's law, there's enforced territory, there's marshals. They mention like connected states or something like that. One of the marshals did. And then you just see like there's diners on the side of the road, and there's cars working almost 20 years into the apocalypse. And I was like, this doesn't feel like The Walking Dead. This feels like Maggie and Negan are in a different post-apocalypse, because all this infrastructure never existed in any of the other shows we've seen, and now it all of a sudden exists in this show. And maybe they explain it a little more. I hope they do explain New Babylon a little more, because it's a bit too vague, and I want to know. That's the only thing I really care about, like, why does this not feel like The Walking Dead? We do get a quick cameo from Raffi from Star Trek Picard in this. I thought it was cool. And then she quickly just leaves the show as soon as she enters. Sad times about that. I do have an issue with Negan. The more I think about this episode, the worse it gets. That you have people hunting down Negan. These marshals are hunting down Negan. And Why does Negan not just leave the territory? Like, they're only around New Babylon. I don't know how big New Babylon is. And they obviously go far enough to go, okay, we're going to go Manhattan. What if Negan just heads west? Or just heads south? What stops him from travelling really, really far and starting new? Why is he staying around the same area where he could be hunted? The hunters are not going to follow him to California or Nevada or New Mexico. It's just a bit weird that they're like, okay, people hunting down Negan, but Negan's not going to travel away from them. He's going to stay in the same little area so they can chase him down. Now let's move on to my one sentence / one word overall review, because I definitely cannot talk about this episode anymore. It is just so bland. And I would say straight up a bland episode. It's a 5 out of 10. I can't rank it any higher because I'm never going to rewatch this episode. I went to this episode and I was really excited for it, and then I watched it. By the end, I'm like, okay, I'll watch the next one, but I'm never going to rewatch episode 1. It didn't grip me. There's nothing special about it. It is just a bland, generic episode. It just feels like yet another Walking Dead project, and I'm very disappointed with this episode. But please tell me down below, what did you think about the premiere of Dead City? Did you love the episode? Did you hate it? What was your favourite part and what was your worst part? I'd like to know all your thoughts and opinions down below. But this is it for me today, so make sure to like and subscribe. Keep up to date with all things Walking Dead, and peace out, and I'll talk to you in my next video.